Us to discuss this further, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, Biocon, Shailaja Chandra, the former Secretary of Health for the Delhi government, Monica Hallan, Consulting Editor at Mint, Sandeep Patel, the CEO of Cigna TTK Health Insurance, and Joydeep Roy, Partner Insurance PwC, and our very own Yash Jain, who's of course been speaking with insurance companies. Appreciate you joining us here on the program. Now, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, I want to start by asking you, and I want to start by focusing on the cost of this particular scheme. Let me come to you, Shailaja Chandra, and ask you about what you see as being the big challenges from an execution perspective. Joydeep was just talking about the administration cost. He was also talking about this business of being able to drive down costs and how that's not going to happen overnight. We heard other concerns being raised on being able to capture consistent data, etc. What do you see as the execution challenges of this, Shailaja?
Well, first and foremost, I see the execution. How will you determine that a man needs to go to hospital? He needs a diagnosis. And usually the poor people go from pillar to post here and there, get consultations from private people, public sector people, Ayurveda people, all kinds, before they actually get diagnosed. And they are told you will need hospitalization. Every case is not an emergency. So when they go to a hospital, they've already spent a lot of money. That's number one. When they do go to a hospital, I do feel that, you know, in other countries where there's insurance, there's a very strong regulatory mechanism. And I did point out in an article that in this case, there's no mention of a regulatory mechanism. The gentleman before me was absolutely right. The kind of monitoring and data collection, because that's the only way you can nab any kind of a fraud. Otherwise, it'll be just goodwill as long as it lasts and some big scam breaks out. So that hasn't been factored in. And I do feel the third thing which is very important is, do the states own this? Because if they have to put in money for this, they're going to lose this entire edifice which they have built up. There's a lot of vested interest. Much as it is extremely inefficient, there is vested interest. And if they see that this is going to go to an insurance company to determine where the people go, then they lose the kind of status and the power and the pelf that they enjoy. So I think they can pull back the system unless. But having said that, I need to bring to your notice that Chiranjeevi scheme in Gujarat, which said you pay the private sector for 100 deliveries and you just, and we won't pay you more for cesarean deliveries. And here's the money cash down in advance. You do the 100 deliveries. That worked, by the way. The Rajasthan example, I do feel, is not really something to go upon, because, again, you need something which is right from the beginning to the end, not just hospitalization. And there, the Karuna Trust, the way it is managing the Karnataka primary health centers, a very small kind of initiative, but that is the kind of public good, public ethos that I would have liked to see. This seems to be something which is that you have an inefficient system, you have a government system which doesn't work, so you give it to the private sector and call it insurance. But in a sense, it is not quite insurance from top to bottom. It is only right up to the top that you will need to get hospitalization charges will be cashless and things. But there'll be a whole lot of ins and outs which have to be faced before a man actually lands up in a hospital.
Well, that's an interesting perspective that you share with us, and also thanks very much for sharing some of the models that are working and some of the models that seem to have deficiencies. But Shailaja Chandra, you know, you raised an important question about the interests of the states that the state governments would like to protect. At this point in time, a large majority running in the hands of BJP governments, I would assume that the centre will have more leverage there. But be that as it may, in terms of the government making this attractive for the private sector, you know, what is it in terms of next steps that you would want the government to focus on?
You see, I would say that now you do have diagnostic kits available which can do blood-based kind of tests, and you can see what is wrong, but you still need a kind of a person who is a doctor to have a look at you, a physician to have a look at you, and that does not mean hospitalization. So that part has not been, the wellness clinics are not really the type of people who would be, because if they have 130,000, that is precisely what you have in terms of the sub-centers. Today the sub-centers cater to a population of 5,000. Are they going to have wellness clinics catering to a population of 5,000? Because they would have to then be capable of dispensing drugs. Your laws say that only a medical practitioner can, it's another matter that unqualified people do anything they like, but on paper, that power is only with medical practitioners. And they do not operate anywhere below the block level. At the tehsil level, down below the village level, there are no doctors. So unless that is all matched up, I think for the urban people, middle-class urban people, if this is a kind of cover given, it gives you a sense of relief in case something goes radically wrong. And certainly everybody, we are a young population, everybody is not going to require that kind of hospitalization. So the insurance companies would be able to break even, I think, given the kind of expanse of population. But I don't think that the nuts and bolts of going through with this step by step in terms of what a family has to go through has been really enunciated. If it has been thought through, we should have been told about it.
Thanks to Shailaja Chandra, Monica Hallan, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, Joydeep, Sandeep Patel, and of course our very own Yash Jain for joining us here on this discussion. I've learnt plenty here this evening and we hope that you have too. We'll of course continue to keep this discussion going as we get more details on how the government intends to implement this scheme. For now, from all of us here, goodbye. Thanks for watching.